Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Here we'll see how to use Firebase messaging and Flutter local notification together, and at the same time we'll see how to send messages to a specific device, specific user, and we'll see how to redirect them to a new route. At the same time we'll also work with notification sound and icon and a lot of things. But now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and click on this button over here, and we see that we have a new body, new title message. We'll click on them and we redirect over here. So this is user one. Now over here we'll also see how to work with another user. So click on this and it redirects us to another page where it says that this is a title, and of course this is the messages that I've tried earlier and they're now coming back, so it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we get started, let's go ahead and install these plugins one by one. Firebase messaging and for Firebase local notifications. And we also need HTTP package because we are going to create a post method to submit our user token to the server. And after that you should also make sure that you have created a Firebase project, which I'm not going to cover over here. I'll have other tutorials, so you can check that. Alright, so after that we have this main method, and now we'll go ahead and create MyApp. So this is our MyApp class. Now we need to go ahead and create this main screen class. So we'll create a new file over. So we'll create a new file over here. We'll call it. So here we'll go ahead and create a stateful class, and we'll call it main screen. Now we'll go ahead and create three text controllers variable, because in our app we want to type in and post message to the cloud server. Now here is our updated build function where we have the scaffold. Inside that we have the center column, and as you can see we have this three text field for grabbing username, title, body, and then we have this gesture detector, and we trim the username and we keep text and body and title, and then we keep title and body. And after that we have a simple container, and over here we have a button that we created, a custom button. Now we'll go ahead and run the app and we'll see how it looks like. Let's import it. Let's run our app. So here is our app ready, and this is the basic UI. And the thing we want to do is that we want to be able to click on this and submit username, body, and the title. But to be able to do that, first we need to connect our app with the Firebase. Now for this reason we'll come inside this section, inside this main, and then we'll initialize Firebase. And that's how we are going to initialize Firebase, calling the method initialize app, and at the same time this Firebase messaging file. Now over here we need to import it as async. Alright, now with this our app would be connected, and if we have any messages, background messages, we'll get through because of this one. And with this our app would be connected and initialized with Firebase. Now how do we verify that our app is connected with Firebase? Now to be able to do that, first over here inside this main screen dot dart over here, we'll create a method which is called init state. So inside this init state method we'll have three sections. One is request permission, this is for notification, and then we'll connect with the Firebase, and then we'll load other information as we need. So first we'll go ahead and create this method, and this method would request permission from user device. Right over here we'll create the method, and this is our method. Let's go ahead and import some of the dependencies. So now with this we get first a Firebase messaging object, and then we request permission for alert, announcement, badge, and lots of other things including the sound. And over here if we get different kind of authorization from the user, then we just go ahead and print them. So now this is the time we go ahead and launch our app one more time. And if we do get permission from user, we'll see that this has been printed. Before we go ahead and restart our app, we need to uncomment this here, and then we'll restart our app one more time and we'll see what has been printed there. And let's see, over here it says that user permission has been granted. Now on Android device with Flutter, sometimes it's cranky, it doesn't always show up the permission, but as we see that it did. So if you want to get device permission or permission from your device from the user, then you need to go ahead and implement this method, and then you can print the related information. So with this, our first step has been done. Now what is the second step? Now second step, as we connect with our app with the Firebase, we want to get a token for our device. So we are talking about token for our device, so that's why we need a method that is called get token. So now we'll go ahead and implement. Here we have this method which is called get token. So what it will do, it will connect with the Firebase messaging. So it will connect with Firebase and get token for this certain device, for this Android device. It could be for your iOS device as well. And of course over here, if we get the token, we wait for the token, and if we get it, we save it to a variable, and then we trigger a set state function, which means that we can redraw or update our UI. But of course this variable is not defined, so we'll go ahead and define it at the top over here. So for now we initialize it to empty string. Now we see that our error has been gone. Now this is the time if we have a token, which means that actually our device has been connected with the Firebase backend or Firebase console. Now we can verify that if we get a message, if we get a token. Okay, so if we get connected to the Firebase backend, then we'd be able to get token for this device, and if we can do that, then we'd be able to print it. Okay, so before we even get notification, our device gets connected with the Firebase console. So let's go ahead and run it, and we'll check what happens over here. Now we see that it says that user permission has been granted, but of course we didn't uncomment it. So let's go ahead and run it one more time. And over here we see that we have a token, and this is the device token, not any kind of user token. You have to know this is the hardware device, the device we are talking about. But of course in this case this is an emulator. So if you want to get message from Firebase and do fancy stuff, you have to get your device token. After getting the token, now we need to save it. So to be able to save it, let's go ahead and create a method. So now here we are going to have this method, and of course we need to include this library Firestore, Firebase Firestore, and this is a simple method. So what it does, it takes the token. Well, now we have to send it from here. So this is the method save token. So what happens over here, first we send the token, and then we create a collection. If the collection doesn't exist, then we'll create it. The same for documents. If the document user1, it's a username. If it doesn't exist, it will create one. If it exists, it will ignore. So whether they exist or not, it will go ahead and save the token in a field called token. So you can name it anything. Of course, all these things you can name anything you want. The idea is if they don't exist, they'll go ahead and create, and then we'll set it. Now let's go ahead and verify it. So over here we restart our app, but of course we should see that this is our token. All right, now let's go to the backend Firebase console and see whether this collection exists or not, this user exists. Let's go ahead and check it over here. All right, but one thing though, before we go ahead and do that, you need to create Firestore database. Okay, I have already created one. Okay, otherwise you won't be able to have this thing. And at the same time, you need to set up the rules. The rules should be set up as a true. In default, first time everything is created, this section over here, the rules is false. So you just set it to true, and everything else keep the same, and then save it. Anyway, so now come to this Firestore database. Now as you see, we have this user tokens. This is the collection name and user, and this is the token that has been created and saved later on. Now definitely we can go ahead and create a different user if we want. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, and now we'll see that on our backend, if we refresh the data, we have two users, user 2, user 1. Of course, in this case, we are saving the same token. Now this is device token, right? Because we are using the same emulator. Now for user 2, if you used a different emulator, you'll find that in this case they have a different user token, device token. Now to be able to do that, what we'll do, we'll come over here and I'm going to launch a new emulator and we'll see how it works. Okay, all right, so right now we have two emulators, emulator 1 and 2. All right, so this is emulator 1 or 2, the second one. Some of the data from earlier one, but we'll restart. We'll choose our second one and restore everything, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll see that for that device we have a different token for the device itself. Now of course this has been restarted over here, and let's see if we get a token or not over here. Yes, we did get a token. Now of course this token is different than the first one. Let's go ahead and check it on our backend. Let's check on this user token collection, and then this one, you see it starts with CO, but user 2 over here EKY. So definitely we got different user token based on, different device token based on different devices. Beautiful. So in future, if you have a user and they want to, of course the users, each of them will have different devices, and you want to save them in a different document or in the database column in a different row, but you get the idea. All right, so now what do you want to do? So we are successfully get the permission, and then we get the device token and saved it. And after that, actually we want to do some initializations for Flutter local plugins, which we haven't started yet. Now we'll go ahead and do that. Now to be able to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new method over here, and I'll call it init info. All right, and inside this we are going to initialize our Flutter local notification plugin. So inside this init info method, we have this one where we initialize our Android settings and iOS settings. So this is for Android settings and this is for iOS settings. Those two settings together combined, we create a new settings object, and then we call this inside this initialize method of Flutter local notification plugin. So it takes the overall object, the total object, and then we also have a callback function. Its name is on select notification, and this is the function. Now this one actually is for sending payload or information. And what does it mean? It means that if you want to click on a notification and you want it to take you to a different page, then you should have this one. And of course this is especially works when your app is on the foreground. For background we'll have a different method, but this works especially when app is on the foreground and you click on the notification and you take it to a different page. I mean the notification information, which also means that you redirect to a different page. Okay, direct user to a new screen based on your information on click event. Now at the same time, this object has been initialized at the top, which is this one over here. Okay, so you need to go ahead and initialize and make sure that everything gets imported. Now one thing you might ask, what is this? Well, now this one is actually inside this folder. Now this has been done to show the icon as the notification arrives on your device, and it should be inside this folder. Now MyApp IC launcher PNG. Okay, now if you want to have your custom image, you can just put inside this and write the image name, but that should be only PNG image with transparent background. And over here you can see the size and channel number or code as well, so it should be a good reference. So you should have transparent image inside this and you are good to go. And I think you can pretty much put actually any folder. Then in that case you need to mention the folder name. So this is for your custom notification icon. So let's So that's for your custom notification icon. But anyway, now with this, the basic initialization has been done. But of course, this is still not help us to get any kind of notification yet. Now we'll go ahead and implement our next method inside this init info method. Okay, now this is Firebase .onMessage.listen. Now this is very important. So with this, you'd be able to listen to any kind of messages that's coming from Firebase. So that's why you just have to go ahead and implement the body of this one, because for now it's pretty empty. Once again, if you want to listen to messages from Firebase, you need to go ahead and implement this one. And this gives you an object of remote message, which is called message. Actually, you can call it anything you want. It doesn't really matter. We print a statement at the same time. While if we do have title and body, we try to print them. Okay, and at the same time, we are going to go ahead and call this one. Now this is coming from notification plugin itself, so you don't need to worry about it. Just over here, you do some settings, like what kind of message to show, what kind of text information, and title, things like that. Okay, so it's basic settings. Go ahead and call it, and then we need to do some platform specific settings. Now in this case, our settings is for Android. This is very important, you have to do it. And over here, this is your channel ID and this is your channel name, and this is also important. Set it to max or high. Most probably actually we want to set it to high, and which is better. And I think that for Android it should be high as well. And for now, our play sound is false, and we are going to use actually we can go ahead and do it like this. Anyway, so now it will play sound on our device as notification arrives. And after that, we are going to send this object to another function, which is called notification details. But of course, over here, we can also send for iOS. Okay, we are good to go, just like this. And let's see, put a const over here. And so to be able to really show the message on device, we need to call this show method. Now this show method is coming from notification plugins itself, and over here we show the message, and then we also over here we show the title, then the body. Now these are all coming from this message object, and at the same time we send platform specific objects which is needed. Okay, now over here, if we want to navigate to a different page, then we need to go ahead and mention the payload time. Okay, so instead of title, actually we could do it with body. All right, so now with this, let's see how things are working. So let's go ahead and restart everything and see how things are going, and we still get our device token. Now this is what we have, and let's see if we can listen to messages from Firebase or not. Okay, we'll try about that one. Now to be able to do that, first we'll check and go to Firebase message. First we'll go to Firebase console. So now we'll see if we can send messages from Firebase console or not. And from app itself, we'll check it later. Now to be able to send messages from Firebase itself, I think we need to select our project settings, and then first you need to come to this cloud messaging option over here, and you should have cloud messaging API enabled, and over here you get a server token or server key. So to be able to send messages from Firebase console, you need server key and a device key, actually both of them. And then let's click on this one here. It says cloud messaging or messaging. Then click on this, create your first campaign, and let's go ahead and create it. Now over here, as you see that we do have title and a text. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and take this one, title, but before that actually we need to, so we'll go ahead and do this one, title. Now what is title? You can say this is a test, this is a test body. Now here, then we can select this one. Now here it is asking your device token. Now we already have the device token, so we'll go ahead and copy it from here, and then we'll put it here, and then we'll click on this one, and then we'll select test, then we'll go ahead and do next, and over here we will select our app bundle name or package name, because this is Android device. If you're doing it on iOS, you should select iOS bundle name, and then do this one, and then click on this and review and publish. Okay, and now let's see how things are working over here. Well, it did say that it's successfully sent. Now we don't have any messages yet over here. Okay, I think we are missing one thing here. We are not calling this init info, so that's why nothing is being triggered actually, and sorry about that one. Okay, now let's go ahead and check it one more time. Okay, and we'll send a new message from here. We'll select this, and this time we'll just select like this, test info, and okay, we'll select this test, go ahead and select our app over here, and next, review, publish. Okay, and we'll come over here and check. We do see that it has been received. Congratulations. Okay, because this is the method that's coming from here. Okay, as you see, our print method on message, and this is test and test info. Okay, which is our title and body, the one we just tried. Okay, now one more thing we would see, and over here we also see that this is what we just tried, and beautiful. So it means it's already working. So we are able to get the notification from the Firebase, and we are also able to show it. Okay, now do remember here two things are happening. We are listening to the messages from Firebase, and after that, well, based on this, we are listening to the messages from the Firebase, and we did all this thing. Now all of them, just because we want to show the notification on the phone itself. Okay, so yeah, so this is actually pretty much all about local notification plugin. Now Flutter Firebase itself ends over here. Okay, after that it has nothing to do with Firebase itself, and all these things we do just to show the information over here. Okay, so there are more messages that's being arrived, because from console it is sometimes a little slow. Okay, as you see, it updated over here. That's beautiful. Now that was about when your app is on foreground. Okay, now what about your app is on background? Now if your app is on background, we have to use a different method. Now for that one, we need to come to our main.dart over here, and at the top we have to declare a handler or a callback function, which is called Firebase messaging background handler. Actually, you can call it anything, it doesn't really matter. And we have to pass the remote object, and then we need to call it from here. Right after this, actually we are okay, we don't need this one, we already have it. So right after this, we are calling this on background message handler, and we are passing the callback function that we created. So it listens for background message, and if there is one, then it pops up, okay, with message ID or whatever you want, any kind of object. Even our title and body you can print over here. Okay, now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and put the app like this. Okay, so this is pretty much in background right now. Okay, and let's clear all of that. Okay, and we'll see that whether we see any notification over here or not. So let's come over here and try a new campaign, new test, and over here we'll call it new body. And so this is very device specific, so this is how you are able to send to a certain device, because this is how you choose your, because here we are choosing our device token. So this becomes very user specific, because each user has one device, and that device has a unique token. So when you select this one, it takes this to that device. It sends the messages to the device. Okay, all right, so now we'll click here next, this one, and let's preview, and let's publish. Okay, and it says it was saved successfully, and we do see that over here we have an icon. And at the same time, all right, so now this time we are going to close this app like this, and let's remove everything. Okay, and we'll try it one more time. Let's do it. New test 1, test body 1, select it. Let's click on this, select your app, next, publish. All right, let's see what do we have here. Now we do see that it's already working. So yeah, but even though I was hoping to see this, but yeah, I'm not sure why it's not printing. But yeah, but our app is on the background. We see that our messages arrived. So just to go ahead and do that, maybe restarting could work. But anyway, so you get the idea that how to work with this background message. So to be able to work with this background messages, you have to have this one as well as this one available in your app. Okay, now so far everything has been going smoothly. Now what about sending the information from the device itself and notification? Okay, because everything was great so far. Now to be able to do that, we need to come over here, and let's collapse this method, which we don't need anymore. Let's collapse over here, and we are great. And now inside this, over here, inside the gesture detector, we want to be able to click on something and trigger an event, and that event will get device token and then send notification to this, or send actually post information to Firebase console, and Firebase console will send message to our device. So now here we have added a conditional statement. Now we check the username. Okay, now username we need to type in over here, and if it is not empty, then we'll go ahead and based on that user device, based on that username, we get information. So from the document, because each document is a username, so whatever the name we are going to type in over here, so that name would be sent to Firebase console, and based on that, actually this is also like a query, and you get information. And as you do that, if it exists, it will give you information. What information? It will give you a token field, the field that we created early. So this is a token field. Okay, that means based on field we get this token, or device token, then we save it to a variable. Okay, now of course this is inside this gesture detector we have seen inside on tap event. Now if we get this device token, actually we can go ahead and send a message. So to be able to send the message, we need the token, title text, and body text. These are coming from here, and they're exactly same as Firebase console. Because remember, in Firebase console, each time when we create a new campaign over here, we are doing our title text and body text, as well as we click on this, it pops up a new the dialog box where we have to type in our device token. So now the exact same thing we are going to do over here. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a new method which is called send push message. Now we'll comment the top over here, and the method will be created inside this, and make sure we import the HTTP packages at the top. Okay, and we also need this one, and we should be good to go. And what else? Let's see. Now here, this is the method that we want to talk about. Now over here, actually since we want to post to the console, Firebase console, on the click button, so that's why we have this HTTP post method over here, as you can see. So we are sending this to the URI. So this is very important. Make sure you type it right. And header types over here, content type, and authorization. Now what is this authorization? Actually, this is your server key, the server key we have seen early. Okay, so this is what we need to send. Just go ahead and copy that, and it's pretty long, I guess. And at the same time, make sure that you write it right after key equal. Now, once again, where to get the server key? To be able to get the server key, you need to come over here and okay, well, you need to click on your device over here and cloud messaging. So this would be your server key. And then we need to send a body. Okay, now body should have a few sections over here. Now body inside body is wrapped as JSON. As you can see, we have this 2 curly brackets over here, and we have this data and notification. So you may wonder why. Because in general, a lot of time you'll just see it works with notification. You don't need to have data. Now if you don't have data, it will not work as you click on the notification and go to a new page. If you just want to simply view a notification at the top, then you don't need this one. But if you want to click on that, you want to go to a new page, you need to implement this data section, otherwise it just won't work. Okay, at least that was my experience. So go ahead and do that, and yeah, that's all. And we have we try to catch error if we have error or not. So the idea is we are trying to post information to Firebase console using this URI. We mentioned the header type with this authorization key, which is server key, and then we have this body section over here. And now inside this body, we post information as JSON. So we have 2 sections, which is data for clicking on the notification and go to a new page. At the same time, we carry this information, which is also called payload actually. And over here we have this channel name, channel ID, things like that. But this name is actually random. It doesn't really matter. You can pick anything. But before we go ahead and work more, I want to tell you one thing. Let's go ahead and check our Android manifest, because if this setting is wrong, a lot of time it won't work as well. Okay, so a few things that are important. Over here you should have your metadata inside this activity tag. So this is the metadata which talks about Firebase default channel ID. And then if you want to click on a notification, you also have this intent filter and as well as this intent filter. Okay, so it should work. Now this again ID should be same across everywhere, but you can change it. If you change it here, I would suggest change here in other places where you made this name, otherwise you might get error or it won't work. All right, so now this is the method that we want to call. And where do we want to call it from? We want to call it inside this gesture detector over here. And as we click on this, it will send title text and body text along with our token. And this is how actually you send notification to a specific user. Okay, so to be able to do that, we are getting all this user information. Actually, we get user device token, and then we save it and we pass it down. So we pass it down to this method. Okay, great. Now we'll restart our app, and now over here we'll take a look. So first we know that we have a user. Okay, user1, that was the username, and then we'll say title, and then we'll say body. Now let's see if we work well or not. Okay, sorry, It was still being built. Okay, so we'll try it one more time. So these are user 1, title, and this is body. Let's click on this and we see it arrived. Beautiful. So it means that now we are able to send notification to a specific user to our device. Now to be able to do that, what we were doing over here, we are getting the user device token from Firebase. Okay, using this one, we are passing this as a variable. Now to a specific user, the user token, we are getting it as a variable. Now to be able to do that, what we are doing here inside this gesture detector, we have the username, and based on that user we get information, and we check for a token, the token we have created in the backend, and then we send the message. We call this send push message, which is this one, and inside this we create HTTP post method, and we have this URI, and at the same time we have this headers, and inside the headers we have this content type, and as well as the authorization, and then we have this body over here. Now inside this body we have information as JSON, and we have priority high and data and notification. Okay, and based on this we can send message to a specific user, right? Now how about the second user? Remember we had a second user, so we'll launch our emulator, and that emulator will have a different user token or device token, and then now we'll try to send to message to that particular device or particular user. Let's go ahead and wait for this, and it's being installed. We are over here. Okay, and I think this username was user2. Okay, title 2, here we'll say body 2. Now this will help us to prove that we are sending specific message to specific user. Okay, let's go ahead and click on. Okay, we need to allow this. Now we'll click on this, user2, title 2, body 2. Let's click on this, and beautiful, it just works. Okay, and over here at the same time we'll make a little change, user1, body1. You see, the messages are so specific. So that's how it works, and it's awesome. Okay, great. So what is the next thing we want to do? The next thing we want to be able to click on this message and go to a new page. Well, now that part actually is pretty easy, not that difficult. Now to be able to work with this, we need to come over here, this method, get info, and inside this we remember we have this select notification. Okay, now over here actually if payload is not empty, we want to redirect the user to a new page. And now to be able to do that, over here inside this we're going to create a new screen. So we'll say new screen start. So this is a new screen or new page, and all we need to do, we want to send this string or payload over here, as you can see, and we'll just simply show it over here. Now we need to go ahead and call it. Where to call it? We call it from here. Now to be able to do that, we need to use material route. So here we are trying to push a new page to the stack, and here we are using navigator.push and then material page route, and over here we get this payload and convert it to string. Now once again, one thing, to be able to really work with this payload on click method, you definitely work on this send push message, this one. This is quite important. That's why you'll see body title, they're exactly same. But for payload, you want to go to a new page, you have to have data. If you don't have this data section, it will not redirect you to a new page. At the same time, you see that here it says Flutter notification click. Okay, so you need all combined together, then it would work. With this, we just see notification. With this, we were able to redirect user to a new page. All right, so anyway, we'll go ahead and restart our one of the simulators. So let's restart our emulator, which is this one. And now let's go ahead and select our user 1, title 1, and body 1. So let's click on this, and we see we have this. Let's tap on this, and it takes us to a new page. Beautiful. It's awesome. It's just awesome. Now let's try it one more time. We would say this is a title, and over here we do this is a body. Let's click on this. Let's click on this. Here we are. So we are just passing the title for now. You can also pass body or the whole information, but it makes sense. All right, now what about the sound I was talking about, the notification sound? Now unfortunately on some emulator the sound doesn't work, but it works on a real device, which I have tested. And let's see, a few things you need to definitely take care as you work on the sound. And let me show you where to take care. The channel name is quite important. Okay, so first time you create a channel name, sound didn't work, go ahead and change the channel name, or sorry, the channel ID. You have to have unique channel ID. Okay, all right. And if you want to have this custom sound, so you can go ahead and have this one. Okay, well, this is called raw resource Android notification sound. Now inside this you need to pass your sound notification media, like for example an MP3. Now in general it should be inside this main res. Okay, now what is here happening that in general there should be a new folder that's called raw. So let's go ahead and create a new folder, raw, and inside this new folder actually you should keep your MP3, and which I have done before. I'm not going to do it now, and if you do that it'll just work. Okay, so create a new folder, raw, and inside this whatever your MP3 name is, the media name is, just grab that name and put it over here. There should be exact name and it should work. The only thing, if it didn't work, maybe your MP3 has a problem or the channel ID was not unique. Okay, now this everything works pretty much well on Android device. So the problem happens really with iOS, because iOS, to get notification you have to have a real device. Simulator doesn't work. In that case, along with this code you have to combine some of the settings which I have created before another tutorial. Go ahead and check that and it should work. If it doesn't work, comment in the comment section and I'll try to reply. Thank you so much. So now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and click on this button over here, and we see that we have a new body, new title message. We'll click on them and we redirect over here. So this is user 1. Now over here we'll also see how to work with another user. So click on this and it redirects us to another page where it says that this is a title. And of course this is the messages that I've tried earlier and they're now coming back, so it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and get started.